Hey guys, Mr. Dow here. Today we're going to look at Chapter 4, Producing Data, mainly focusing on collecting data and the proper ways to go out into the real world and get information so that you can play around with these numbers. You already know what to do once you have the data, but in reality, the data is never going to be handed to you on a plate. You're going to have to go out and collect it on your own. So I'm going to show you some things here in 4.1. So I'll try to read some of these notes to you. I guess hit pause as you need to. Most of the notes you can just take a second to copy down. I'm not going to really read word for word. But the main idea here is you want to collect data. You don't have time to ask every single person in the population a question. So what you're going to do is just collect a sample. We're going to go and poll just a small percentage of the population of interest so we can gather some information. Several different types of samples that you can take. The most common is a voluntary response sample. In that situation, you are going to just put a question out there, put a survey out there, and whoever decides they want to be a part of your survey will walk up to you or call into you or write into you, and you'll collect data on whoever responds. Problem with this, the only type of people that really ever give their opinions in these situations are people that have strong opinions. Generally speaking, people that are really for an issue or really against an issue. If you're happy with what's going on, the majority of us, we just don't really say anything. If I'm asked a question and I have a strong opinion, well, I'll probably voice it. And I've mentioned before that our two types of variables, explanatory or lurking, either one, what confounded means. And here again is our definition. A simple example if confounded is still confusing to you. Now back in the 1940s, there was a psychologist who created a test to find attitudes towards Germany. So he collected a group of people, gave them a simple survey or questionnaires, got their opinions. Several months later, he wanted to then retest. He showed them German propaganda, things that Nazi Germany was talking about. And then he wanted to retest to see if their opinions would change due to the propaganda. Well, also during those times, if you remember, Germany attacked France. And he retested, and he wasn't sure if his new survey results were because of the German attack or because of the propaganda he was showing. Why did their attitudes change? Which was causing the change? Which variable? Because of this, he really had to throw his data out. We would say he was in a situation where his two variables were confounded. His before and after study had different results, but he was not sure on what was causing those, so he was confounded. Was it the propaganda that he let them read, or was it the German attack? Statistical inference. I'll give you a second to read down some of these things. The word inference means to infer or to analyze. You have your data, now let's analyze it. I want to be able to mathematically say how good my answers are to my questionnaire, survey, whatever it may be. We have a population, the target audience of everybody I'm interested in, and a sample. For instance, if I wanted to ask opinions of Damascus High School on a certain topic, perhaps we're thinking of changing football games from Friday nights to Saturday nights. Well, I don't have time to ask all 1,500 students at this school. So what I would do is take a small sample. And how I decide to take my sample is considered the design. So here's a few designs for you. Convenience sample. Convenience sample is when you just walk up to a group of people that are most convenient for you to reach. If I wanted to sample Damascus High School, maybe I just go up to A lunch, B lunch, or C lunch. It's quite simple to do. People are already collected there. They're not occupied with anything other than eating lunch. They can't take a few minutes to answer some questions. I'm wearing a t-shirt of a certain rock band, and then I go and ask people as part of my survey if they like rock music. They may or may not be inclined to answer truthfully, depending on what I'm wearing. Perhaps they don't want to insult me or offend me. So if I ask my rock shirt, hey, do you like rock music? Maybe they don't, but they say yes. I would say that study is bias. A simple random sample. SRS abbreviation. Get used to that abbreviation, SRS. You're going to see that from now until the a probability sample. Simple example of a probability sample. With the presidential election upcoming, let's say election districts, and we can break them down into three groups: urban, suburban, and rural. We want to do this because individuals in these groups tend to be similar and have similar opinions. People that live in farm country tend to all have the same political views. Or perhaps I would want to take 50% of farmers, but only 25% of urban and suburban. I can create a list of random digits where everyone's given a specific number that corresponds to but I'm going to purposely give farmers twice as much of a chance. A stratified random sample. Here I'm splitting into two groups of similar characteristics. We call them strata. If I'm going to survey Damascus High School, maybe I go boys, girls. maybe I go seniors, juniors. In any case, they have a similar attribute that I can group them. Multi-stage cluster samples. Here's a simple example of that, which will pretty much let you give your own definition. Let's say I'm interested in sending a team of people around the country to survey different households. I don't have time to send, let's say, 10 people back and forth across the country from one state to one state, crisscrossing paths. I would like to get the most bang for the buck from my team members. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a sample from my 3,000 counties in the U.S. Perhaps Montgomery County comes up as one of the counties chosen. I'll select a sample of townships within each of those. So perhaps Damascus comes up. A sample of blocks within each chosen township. Perhaps a certain neighborhood in Damascus comes up. And then I can select 10 households from that neighborhood. So now my team member can fly simply just to Damascus, to a specific neighborhood, and interview 10 different households. I can get 10 different survey results from one person, and it's much faster, much cheaper than sending them to one house in Damascus, flying them to California, then back to another house in a different part of Maryland. I just try to isolate and save time. A few cautions here. If I'm only sampling households, I'm going to be missing some people. What about people in college? They have opinions. Their opinions should matter. I would have to find out a way to handle that. What about people that are homeless? They're still part of this country. They have opinions. I got to figure out how to handle that. Or inmates. If I'm going to do phone polls, with the popularity of cell phones, many houses are getting their home phones turned off. I'm missing a small part of the population. Non-response is when people refuse to cooperate. For instance, if someone calls you on your phone, asks you if you want to take part of a sample, you say, no thanks, I don't want to do that, you hang up. These tend to be high in urban areas. Another non-response, you walk up to a person in the cafeteria, say, hey, I'm doing a survey, they just walk away from you. Undercoverage. If you're leaving people out of your sample, whether it be intentional or unintentional, your undercoverage will be high. Again, if I'm going too fast at any point in time here, feel free to hit pause or rewind. Your behavior as a surveyor could actually cause response bias. You have to be real sure on how you ask a question, the wording of your question, the inflection of your voice, and the tone. You want to get an accurate result, but you do not want to influence the respondent. Last thing I want to mention is Likert scales. I know all of you have seen them. Someone hands you a survey. What are your opinions on whatever topic? They ask you whether you, on a scale, agree, strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree. So a Likert scale shown here, you can circle any one of the 5 possible outcomes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Problem with the Likert scale in front of you, for my opinion, is my issue is with the neutral 3. If it's too easy for me as a respondent to just select neutral and I don't have to put any thought. If I'm really trying to get someone's opinion, whether they like or dislike something, I cannot give them this option to let them out of the question. It's too easy for them to say, well, I have no opinion, neutral. I think you should force their hand.